about the future, not just mine, but my family's. And I mean family in every sense of the word, whether by blood or chosen family. And when I really sit down and think about what holds a family together, it's not always DNA. It's how we show up for each other, how we pour into one another, how we help each other grow, and make sure our stories don't get lost. At the end of the day, it's community. That's the thread. It's the way we pass down ancestral knowledge to the next generation so they have something solid to stand on, something to build from.
Five, four, three,
This is the Zesty Podcast. I'm your host, Malik Anderson, aka Taka. Today we're getting into culture, tradition, and the power of storytelling, and how one Creole journalist is using his voice to preserve their heritage and push for social justice. Quinn Foster's work is deeply rooted in their lineage as a Creole traiteur, a faith healer. That practice, that history, that responsibility, it runs deep through everything they do. And they carry it with so much respect. From documenting community resilience to exploring identity through art and food, Quinn's storytelling is both an archive and activism. It's culture work. It's a form of community care. It's real. So let's get into it. Let's talk about preserving culture, honoring our ancestors, and telling stories that feed the soul.
Quinn, welcome to the Zesty Podcast. I'm excited to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to join me.
I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you for reaching out, Malik, for this great opportunity. And yes, I'm here at the Zesty Podcast, so let's get into it.
So last month, Creole Culture, a Louisiana-based organization, published Hands of Heritage, a collaboration project in honor of International Creole Heritage Month. For anybody who doesn't know, that takes place every October is when International Creole Heritage Month is observed. And it's not just Louisiana Creoles, it's the entire Creole community in the world. That's why they got the international up front. But you contributed 2 pieces to this project, correct?
Yes, I did. Within the print book, published book that is available on creoleculture.com, I contributed to a piece titled Check In or Check Out. And I also wrote and performed a piece called Reflections with Quinn at the Hands of Heritage celebration event that took place at the Delta. It's a center downtown within Opelousas. So yes.
So how do you first hear about Hands of Heritage and what led to your involvement?
So one of the co-founders of Creole Culture, Official Creole Culture, which is a company, a Louisiana-based company, reached out to me, Milton Arsenault, and he reached out to a collective of creatives, from writers to photographers to poets, and he wanted he wanted to do a collaborative project, which every year for Creole Culture, International Creole Culture Heritage Month, Creole Culture does a table book, let's say a table book, and typically they are highlighting and honoring those within the community, from Creoles to African Americans and Afro Caribbeans, as far as their work within Creole culture in the community as a whole. And this year he wanted to do something different and actually intentionally reach out to other creators, those that identify as Louisiana Creoles, to create a project based on, well, I say a timeless piece, and that lives on, to represent the physical hands and also the spiritual hands that guide us and have taken us thus far, from whether one is a native of Louisiana, whether one family has migrated outside of Louisiana and still have connections and ties to such, bringing all of that together and having the hands come together. So that's how it came together. And we had meetings We had virtual meetings, in-person meetings, and we paired and collaborated with writers, collaborated with photographers, and we were able to start together. I don't want to go too far because you might be asking more questions about it, but we was able to see each other through the meetings, like the introductory meetings, and then from there we paired together.
Yeah, so there were, 9 authors and 7 photographers, including yourself. And you had the 2 pieces, one of them which is a part of the booklet, the book. What unique perspective of the culture did you hope to share? Through these pieces.
Ashe, that's a great question. So off the top, with check in or check out, I wanted to share the syncretism and the synchronicity between spirituality and religion that happens in Creole culture, but in melanated culture, period, in African culture, period. And so with check in or check out, it is waking up that's those that have transitioned, and also knocking at the door of those of us that are still within this realm of living, and how we've always interwoven nature and animism with religion. And check in to check out also checks us as Creoles as far as our pride, our egos, our shortcomings, how we are in the flesh, and things that we need to address as a people in order to truly be healthy with one another, to interact healthy with one another, and not to be our own downfall. And so that's a bit about what check in to check out. Check in to check out was about. You either gonna be all the way in, or you need to get the fuck on. Can we cuss on the podcast?
Of course, you can say
All right.
whatever you want.
All
There are
right.
no restrictions.
Perfect.
But I like that you bring up the connection between the spirituality aspect, because for as long as I've known of you and I've seen your work, you've always embraced the legacy of Creole Traiteurs, and that's something a
Yes,
lot of
sir.
people don't know a lot about or the history of. And so I wanted to ask you if you could talk a little bit more about the history of Traiteurs and what that identity means to you.
All right. So, Creole Traiteurs were very much so within Creole communities, within rural parishes, and within city parishes as well. I want to historically, whether they call themselves treaters or not, that's subjective. A lot did, a lot of them had other names for themselves, and so treating has always been. Treating goes back into not. I'm gonna talk about colonization since we're in that. I'm gonna talk about the colonial era. That's what I meant to say, and not pre-colonial, because as we already know, naturally treating when it comes to indigenous and African people, that's us. Period. Okay, but since we're speaking on Creole treaters, let's talk about colonial era. It literally came about because of the innate knowledge and wisdom that we have with nature, with plants, um, and then what was forced upon us with religion. Within his name, I believe his name was Page. I believe his last name or something was Page, and he was going around. I want to say his name. I think it was either Page or Pratz, Pratz. But he was going around Louisiana, and he was writing in his diaries within the 1700s, things that he observed and noticed with African people and Native Americans, and the similarities of such with traditions when it comes to healing traditions and things of that nature. All right, so fast forward to when Catholicism, Catholicism is one of the foundations to colonization from the French and the Spaniard and the Portuguese people. So as African people, as Creole people, even though Catholicism was not necessarily, it might have not necessarily been beaten into us, it was interwoven into our spirituality of how we moved about things when it came to um, speaking in Creole and having our own songs that are dealing with what's going on within the Bible, but also having hidden messages within it and having prayers be intentional to certain things such as um, helping someone get through a spell or even having warning signs through songs. And so the history of treating occurred during colonial era throughout the 1800s and so on and so forth. And it was always a necessity. It was always a necessity because we had people from France and people from Nova Scotia and the Germans and all these other people who came to foreign land that did not know how to heal themselves. So and the intermingling versus like the British, as far as like American colonization versus being colonized by the French and the Spanish, the intermingling when it came to not just relationships but of exchanging of knowledge, exchanging of plants and wisdom and things of that nature. Because of that exchange, treating was more so, even though it was a necessity because you could not, one would be penalized or demonized or criminalized if they were just blatantly practicing indigenous healing practices and indigenous spirituality. So one had to, just like within the Creole language, one had to keep their identity, but also be able to assimilate within the dominant culture at that time. And treating is personal to me. Being a Creole Traiteur is personal to me because my great papa, his name was Dominique T-Man Ozan. And T-Man was his nickname around Opelousas, St. Landry Parish, period, because he treated people with teas, herbal teas, and other practices as well. He made his own teas from his own garden. He had him and my mama had their own separate gardens. He had his garden for treating, and she had her own garden for the community and for their house, and farming as well and things of that nature. And he what's the word I want to use? Traditionally, I'm glad the words is coming to me because the English language is a key.
Yeah.
Traditionally, treaters would pass down their wisdom, the knowledge, and what they know about treating to the opposite gender, opposite sex, or whatnot. So my great papa passed down his treating knowledge and prayers and things of that nature to my great auntie, which was my Aunt Celeste or Aunt Celestine. He passed down to my Aunt Celeste, and from my Aunt Celeste, my mama, which she is a woman, but she learned a lot from treating from all of them, from her papa, which was my great papa, my Aunt Celeste, and other aunties at that time. And when my mama was born, she was born with a veil over her. And within Creole culture, within Catholicism, um, within spirituality, one that is born with a veil over them is deemed a healer. Their walk of life is deemed a healer. I found out that my mama was born with a veil over her. My mama, which is her mama, transitioned. Excuse me. She transitioned in February of 2023. Around October of 2022, I had went to go visit my mama. My mama is originally born and raised in Opelousas, and then when she had my mama, they had her in Lafayette. She grew up in Opelousas for a little bit, and then they moved to Port Arthur, Texas. So I went to go visit my mama in Port Arthur. I live in Lafayette. And we were sitting on the couch doing what we do, Zydeco, and that's what we call. And Zydeco is 420. And my mama was like, she was a weed smoker just like me. She said, my boy, you going Zydeco? That is so.
It's natural. It's from the earth, you know.
I
That's
say,
healing. It
I
can
say, the
get your
herbs for
mind right.
healing. Come on. And Lite Kone, and she knew, and I missed my girl. So we were sitting on her couch like around October 2022, chopping it up with each other, and she divinely said, but one would say randomly said, but I say divinely said, she said, you know, your mama was born with a veil over her as well. She said she's a healer. She left that with me. I've always been open with my astrology, spiritual, and intuitive oracle practices with my family, and creating teas, because before I even knew that, my great papa made his own teas for people, and used that for when people had different ailments. I was already in that bag, literally. So I say that to say, the gifts was passed down to me. My mama and my mama. When it comes to natural home remedies and healing remedies, not forget, looking things up in a book or a magazine. The traditions was passed down literally from the Mongolier tea, from the aloe vera, from the garlic, from the onions in your socks. These were things that I grew up knowing and practicing. So being a treater is literally, because I've met, I know I'm probably going different places, but I've bumped into people that have bloodline of of Creole treaters as well. Some walk in their light, and some have not connected their path yet. But I say that to say, not only do I come from a direct connect line of Creole treaters, I am a Creole treater as well. And before I knew that I came from a direct line, I was already practicing and such. And I call myself an unorthodox Creole treater because you're not gonna see, I'm on a Sabbath, I'm not gonna be at mass all the time and things of that nature. That's not going to be my walk of life, but I definitely incorporate religion and Southern Catholicism within my spiritual practices.
Well, for you, I mean, a lot of us are coming up, the new generation, um, that are born into some of these traditions. Some of us are reclaiming certain traditions. And like you said, you may do it unorthodox, but like, how have you learned to walk that line of what feels right for you and what feels comfortable? And what does that look like?
Come on, you said how, right? That's the question, right?
Yeah, how?
All right. So I so my papa, my mama's daddy, Pierre Ozan or Peter Ozan, he transitioned when my mama was 3 years old. And we've always had a longing and yearning and a strong connection with him in the afterlife, and us being within this life, specifically me and my mama. And so my mama was deeply, I won't say deeply, but she had a strong interest in astrology, specifically horoscopes, and interpreting such. Will be on the front porch, and that was the thing that we did. I also grew up watching Sailor Moon, and I'm not saying the kids nowadays. I'm talking about I had the VCR Sailor Moons, like Sailor Moon
Me
Rose,
too.
Sailor Moon S. Okay, so we here.
I remember.
Nuzaki seat,
Yeah, I remember.
Nuzaki seat. We here. Okay then, yes, we cousin. All right. So these were my interests as a child. Numerology and numerology specifically, astrology and astronomy, that came from Sailor Moon. But numerology and herbalism came from my people. But what I'm about to get somewhere with this, numerology and herbalism, all that, came from my love of Left Eye. I love TLC, love Left Eye. In 1999, I was 5 years old, bought the fan mail tape. My sister broke the tape. And that's the time. During that time, she was going to Dr. Sebi and stuff like that. Even though I'm young as fuck, I'm still keeping up with stuff like that. She had a Supernova website. I was keeping up with stuff like that. So that's the occult side of me. You get what I'm saying? That side. Even though we still you know, went to Christianese, sometimes went to Catholic services because we had other family members that was deeply into Catholicism. Did go to Southern Baptist churches because on my pop side, that was their thing. Did go to non-denominational churches. Did participate in the kid church choir, not going to like choir rehearsals, but getting up and go. If I'm there, then I'm there. So I said to say it was always interwoven for me. It was always interwoven for me. So when I started actually practicing with community members or participants or clients, however one wants to, call such, before any type of reading, any type of work, I prayed beforehand. And that's what you're supposed to do as the Creole treater, period.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't, but I never, I'm not going to say never. As I started practicing, I started practicing in 2017, actively practicing. I was like 22 years old.
What was that switch for you? Why 2017? What happened that year that made you say, okay, I need to commit to this. I need to do this actively. This needs to be a part of my life.
Instead of like interests and hobbies, right? Because I was able to meet other people that were into the same things that I was into, and it had me like, okay, I'm not crazy as hell. Like, oh, like the telepathy of it all, because we'll get into the Creole telepathy, which is a word that I've coined and came up with. But the telepathy, which derives from telepathy, the telepathy of it all is real. The gut feeling of the intuition is real. Other people understand that they come from direct ancestral lines. And I specifically say direct for a reason. That's no tea, no shade. But other people come from direct ancestral lines of people that have put in the work, have gone against all odds and realized that the God within them and the God surrounding them can connect together and make magic and make shit happen. So when I started to it was just a handful of people too. But when I started to be around interacting, because I wouldn't even say around, like it was interactions with people here and there. And I'm like, okay, it's time for me to be all that I can be. Then at that time, I'm going to add location as well. For 3.5 years, I have moved to Portland. And Portland is definitely, it's like.
That's far.
It is, but just like I'm gonna say Louisiana, period, but specifically New Orleans. But just like a New Orleans that has a strong spiritual portal to it, the area that has a strong spiritual portal. Portland has Port, P-O-R-T.
It's
Portland
in
has
the
a
name.
spiritual port to it. Exactly, and that literally just clicked to me exactly. It has a portal to it, like a motherfucker. Very, very strong spiritual portal to it.
But what
And
kind?
it all depends, huh?
What kind?
I'm glad I was gonna get that. All depends on how you work with it. It could be the left side or right side. It could be up or down. It
Okay.
could be, maybe even a little in between. But the point is when it's felt. It's felt. So that was a encourager as well. Meeting other Creoles in Portland divinely.
In
That
Portland?
happy. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Shout out to
They
my
got
girl.
Creoles in Portland?
Shout out to my girl Sote. Shout out to my nigga right by you, Cajun, and his nephew. Shout out to the dude that I met on MLK in Northeast Portland, and he also had roots within Opelousas, and he also was born in Houston, and he was trying to find his way, and we naturally was talking, and we bumped into each other, and we shared what I just shared. Our life, nous a la vie, c'est portrait. C'est un portrait. Our life is a movie, and my life is a movie. My life is So yes,
everywhere.
I divinely not going to look, not going to look, not going to look. And this shit is heavy. Not going to look, but divinely bumping into our people. If I'm lying, I'm flying. And before I moved to Portland, I definitely, because I intentionally pray, and I try my best to intentionally say what I want to put to power, especially with being a sun in Aries, and Aries rules the head, which the mouth is there, and conjuring is real. And I know that from experience in life. So I intentionally prayed before I moved to Portland that I would be around melanated energy, melanated folks, and people that align with me. And the whole time I was there, that's what motherfucking happened. The whole 3.5 years, the whole 3.5, that whole 8 was good smoke. So
Wow. So like, I mean, finding that community in Portland, which is blowing my mind. I don't know why. We're everywhere. But
literally,
how,
we're global.
I ask all of our guests this at the end of the interview. And it's important to the podcast because this is the ethos of the podcast.
All
Because we want to give
right.
people a little bit of inspiration. When do you feel zesty? Or what is something that makes you feel zesty?
I mean, I'll answer that both two different ways. I am zesty. Like I am zesty. I am that tang. I am that, nah, 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 like giving it to naturally when I get in a room any motherfucking well, like you going to definitely feel the pizzazz, see the pizzazz, hear the pizzazz. So I am zesty. Like I'm freely who I am, and I am that in all aspects, from feminine to masculine to androgynous to in between to non-binary to that nigga, that bitch, all of that all combined together. And I want to share when I was in high school. I'm a Aries son, and this one of my partners one of my partners just hadn't talked to them in like decades or whatever. She a Gemini, and we both called each other naturally. I don't know who first started it, but I feel like it was on some same type shit. We
Connection,
called each other.
creolepathy.
Come on, the Creole, and we could talk about the Creolepathy after this if you want to, just briefly. We we called each other free spirit, and this was back in '09, around that time, before the word free spirit and things of that nature became buzzwords. And because we saw each other, we seen each other as the balls of light that we are, the brightness of light that we are. And so I am zesty. I feel zesty when I feel zesty when I'm around the gays. I feel zesty when I'm around the nigga gays. The nigga gays. No shade, no shade. The nigga gays, the black gays, the melanated
I
gays.
know
The
when you around your
woo,
people, that's when you
ooh,
become the
ooh,
head punk in charge. Okay.
HPIC, HPI. Did y'all hear that Zesty podcast? He said the head punk in charge.
I
Oh,
need to trade. Be careful. I need to trademark that. Put that on a shirt
you
somewhere.
do, because I hadn't and I'm glad I hadn't heard that one. So you need to go ahead, because yes, head punk in charge, yes. And just like this, so yes, the Creole lepathy of it all. A lot of us Creoles, especially within South Louisiana, have some type of familial connection. And when I say within South Louisiana, I'm talking about whether your ass live here or whether your ass don't. If you go down that family tree, you'll see something that's typically connecting. All
My
right.
family from Slidell.
Okay, come on, Slidell, come on. Yeah, over there at St. Tammany Parish Way. I was just in Slidell for Zydeco Festival, the New Orleans Zydeco Festival this past weekend. So shout out to Slidell. Y'all had made us we had a good time. My third grade papa or second grade papa, his name was Tony White. He was also from Slidell. He lived on a Native American reservation before they ended up moving to Bogalusa, and that's actually something that I wanted to bring up. And me and my family are still researching exactly what tribe that a reservation used to live on and things of that nature. So shout out to Slidell, shout out to Slidell. But a lot of us are typically some type of connection. Whether it's familial, like I said, or whether it's through marriage. And so the Creole lepathy of it all is similar to lepathy, yet it is that bondage. When you're bonded by blood, it hits different. You bump into your people. I've divinely bumped into cousins that I didn't know that was cousins, and we ended up speaking to each other. Oh, and the connection came right then and there. That's just one side of Creole lepathy. Then it's the actual being in conversation with one another, and y'all thoughts are literally aligning, finishing each other's sentences, etc., etc. It's the pulling up to your people. Ooh, it's the pulling up to your people's house and they knew you was coming, but you didn't tell them that you was coming. Like, I'm gonna leave it there because I could get fired up about that's Creole lepathy. It's near and dear.
We're gonna have to leave it there because I'm about to get kicked out the space. So thank you
Much
so
love and
much.
thank you,
I've
Malik.
been talking with Louisiana Creole journalist,
Yes.
music artivist Quinn Foster. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you get a little bit more likes this week. Thank you so much.
I'm receiving that, and thank you so much as well. And take care, and much love to the Zesty podcast. and we out.